Chip, Trey Carson last week was in fill the role as a blocking back. This is something sort of new in your offense we haven't seen for some time. Is that something we can expect to see more of, or was that sort of a game-by-game basis?
No, Trey's played in every game so far this year, Steve, and in what we were doing on last week against Arizona, it was just a check with me, depending on where the safety was. If the safety was right, we were going to run left. If the safety was left, we were going to run right. So Trey has carried the ball for us. Trey has blocked for us. It's no different than, we've run the same stuff and had Kenyon be a lead blocker. We've had LaMichael be a lead blocker. So, we don't have a blocking back position. So it could go either way when we have two backs in the backfield on who carries it. Sometimes who carries it and who lead blocks, or sometimes who carries it and who's the pitch back. It really doesn't matter with all those guys. So.
There are no further questions at this time.
Any more questions here? Ken?
Do you think after LaMichael's performance, you think after LaMichael's performance against Arizona, we're going to stop hearing questions about whether he's lost a step or?
Ask your guys. Turn around and ask them.
What, in your impression?
I never thought he lost a step, so we don't discuss that as a group. But I know people wrote articles about it, but probably you should ask the guys behind you if they do that. I don't know.
The main one that wrote it's not here, so.
I don't know who the main one who wrote it was.
I didn't mean to slight you.
You got a lot of talent among the potential returners, including a guy in Cliff who was an All-America last year, and that LaMichael is holding on to that job and leading the nation, I think, now in punt return average. Why did you go with him over all the other guys when you did have other good options too? And what's he doing well to excel in that role?
Well, one of the things that happened is both Kenyon and LaMichael returned it against LSU, and Cliff was unavailable for us. So, and then Kenyon got banged up a little bit. So, now you're left with a couple guys. So, it's just a matter of. But if you look at him, he's a very dangerous weapon to have back there. It's a lot like if you go to Cal in the past, having Deshaun Jackson deep. What are you going to do? You're going to kick to him, just like Arizona did, and he returns at 53 yards, or do you kick away from him? So, we've had Jonathan Stewart return kicks here, and he was a great one for us. And we believe special teams are just an extension of our offense. So if it's another opportunity to get the ball in a playmaker's hands, then we're going to do that. And we're fortunate. Some weeks you were like, wow, I look back, and I'm back there with the returners in practice going, wow, we got a pretty good group. And then I've been there other weeks and I'm like, wow, who's going to return this week? So it really just depends on a weekly basis of who we're going to have. And when you have a few of them, what we try to do during games is kind of rotate some of those guys in. So, you saw DeAnthony back there in the Arizona game. You saw Michael back there in that game. You saw some other guys like Terrence Mitchell and Efo and those guys back deep on kickoff returns. It's just a matter of making sure we got fresh bodies out there, because we believe that special teams is a chance for you to really change and tilt the field from a field position standpoint. And anytime you can get returns like we're getting when people kick it to us, that's a huge bonus for us.
It's almost like a closer where you just roll with the hot hand for a while. It
more depends on not with the hot hand as much as what happened a couple plays before that. If it was, we had a 10-play drive and then it was 3 and out and they're punting, we may go with someone that wasn't in on that 10-play drive. So, and again, that part is all done by Oz. He's kind of got a feel for who's gone. It's the same thing if the defense was on the field and one of your returners is a defensive player, but he just played 10 straight snaps, and then fortunately we got to stop and then they got to punt it. I'm not sure you want the guy that was out for 10 straight snaps back there deep. It's better to get fresh legs in there. But sometimes, based upon kids getting banged up, you don't have that luxury. You got to stick with some guys. And we had some games, in Nevada and in Missouri State where we didn't have a lot of guys available at that point in time. So some of those guys got to go. So, you saw Efo getting some returns in the Nevada game. In the Missouri State game, if I remember, because we're trying to get some guys back in there, and obviously the game got out of hand. So it is a luxury to have those guys, and it really just depends on really who can be the freshest and give us a shot at that point.
Any more questions?
Something though stylistically about him as a returner that makes him effective. I don't know. Is he different than Cliff as a returner in any way?
Well, he's faster.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot faster. He's one of the fastest kids in the country. So,
right.
I think that's a different aspect in terms of what he brings to being back there. And I know if we were kicking, and you're kicking to a Deshaun Jackson type player or a Michael James type player, you're going to sit in meetings and say, what are we doing punt wise here? Are we gonna kick this thing deep? And when you have a dynamic returner, it can really change change the landscape of the game. And sometimes you'll see the kicker just kick it out of bounds, and it's a 30. It changed it because of it was a bad kick, because they're in that guy's head of don't kick it to him. So you know, the difference I think with Michael and some other guys, obviously D'Anthony and Kenyon, and I think is those guys are legitimate, you know, sub 10-6 kids that can really flat out go. And Cliff's not a 10-6 kid. You know, he's got a knack and does some really nifty things back there. But you know, the Michaels give him a second. Kenyon, it's like the difference between the punt return and the Tennessee game. There was Kenyon broke it. There was one gap and he was gone. You know, it's beat the punter, and I think everybody in the stadium knew this kid can really go. Or other times it's weave back and forth, make sure we're holding our blocks up. But those guys give you a chance. If you can hold up and do a decent job in return, that you can get on some drastic field position change in a game. And when you're in our league, you know, I say it all the time, it comes down to turnovers and special teams, and they're an integral part of it. It's not a time where we're taking plays off, saying, oh, it's just special teams, let's not worry about it, let's get our offense on the field. If we get the ball in 21's hands or 6's hands or 28's hands, then, you know, that's another opportunity for us to get in their hands.
Anything else? Catherine, any more questions waiting?
No, sir, there are no questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who had the player interviews,